Meet Keith, loving dad, board game champ, bus driving pro.
I drive 65,000 miles in my bus each year. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. Like how there are some things I simply can't see. On my route the other day, a car tried to sneak past me and ends up right in my blind spot. I turned slowly, so accident avoided. But no car should be in the blind spot for a 40,000-pound bus. It's our roads. It's our safety.
Visit www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm so excited about this episode. My guest is Pamela Downes. Pamela is a multidimensional soul body healer, trance channeler, and spiritual guide who works directly with the Great Council of Light to support humanity's awakening. You're going to want to listen to what she has to share. Stay tuned. Welcome to the episode featuring my guest, Pamela Downes, a multidimensional soul healer, channeler, and spiritual guide who helps people clear soul-level imprints, reconnect with their inner guidance, and remember who they truly are beyond conditioning, trauma, and past life patterns. Pamela Downes is a mother, entrepreneur, and former corporate leader who left the life she built to follow spiritual guidance calling her forward. Her work is unique. Her work as a healer and trance channeler is grounded in lived experience, helping people clear deep energetic imprints and reconnecting with their soul's natural intelligence. Clients describe the work as life-changing, leading to greater alignment, clarity, and a renewed connection to their soul purpose. You can connect with Pamela at her website, www.spirit-calling.com. That's spirit-calling.com. It's my honor and pleasure to welcome my guest, Pamela Downes. Welcome, Pamela.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, Jill.
Oh, we're so excited to have you on because I know so many listeners want to hear what you have to share, especially in this powerful time of awakening. And you have helped people who are going through this awakening in a one-on-one and group basis. So maybe you can share because people are a little confused as well and don't know if they're having maybe some kind of health issue or is it a spiritual awakening. So anything you have to share about that, Pamela, would be much appreciated.
I'm chuckling. It's not funny, but you're right. It's like, am I having a health thing or is this a spiritual awakening? And it's both. You know, we have our physical body and we have our spiritual ethereal body, and they work together in this three-dimensional plane of existence. And a lot of times when people are going through, you know, my spiritual awakening journey was, I don't know, 2008 through 2012. That's when it started. And I was reflecting on that today as I was on my walk in the new town that I'm going to live in, because my entire life just changed over the course of the last week through this incredible astrological time that we are experiencing right now. And I was thinking about my awakening journey, and I was going walking every morning, and I was giving gratitude and thanks for, you know, the opportunity of the world and the possibilities I could create. And 11 years ago, I did not know spirituality and being a spiritual teacher, mentor, clearing and soul body activator and DNA and light code, you know, activator and restorer was on my list of things I was going to do in my life. So this morning I thought, I wonder what I'm going to do the next 11 years. I wonder what is in store. And that's what's happening right now. People are waking up so quickly as our planet is shifting its frequency, as humanity is shifting its consciousness collectively and everyone individually. And there's a lot of the shedding of the old, you know, egoic part of who we are that defined us and the roles that we played in partnership or just in work. And the truth of who we are and what we are becoming is brought to the surface. And the shakeup is happening to really align people with what it is they are meant to do, what their dharma is, what their purpose is. People who are living on purpose, who have, you know, gone on this spiritual journey of discovering themselves and remembering themselves, are really, you know, they're diving in the deep end of wanting to know more. Others who maybe have scratched the surface or aren't meant to, go that deep in this lifetime, are realizing what their capacity is. And relationships are, truths are coming up to like, what are we doing here? Who are you? What am I? And where am I going? And where are you going? And people are really sitting in those truths, remembering themselves fully and realizing their full potential. And it's amazing to witness and to personally experience again.
Right. As healers and as spiritual teachers, we actually have to experience it so we can relate better to
Yeah.
the people who we're working with. It's that talk the talk and walk the walk, but it's also in the astrological paradigm. It's the wounded healer teacher, Chiron. In order to
Yeah.
best help others, we have to go through a process ourselves. But as you mentioned, it's really coming out of nowhere for a lot of people. It's very spontaneous. But I think one of the messages for us to share today is not to be feared. It's almost
Yeah.
like you have to just go with it. And I think the flexibility and the surrender to the process is a way to get through it. That sounds like how you got through it 11 years ago, and then this is what's going on now. But I think any other words of wisdom that you can share to people who their life has just blown up, their relationship has just blown up, something that they valued, they've lost, their identity is shifting. And so there's a lot of people in this liminal space between who they were and how their life was defined. And they don't know yet, because here we are in July and August of 2026. We don't know. It is a being in the blender. It's a process. So I don't know what words of encouragement that you might share with your experience from your own situations and from working with people who will go through this when they're ready. This is almost like a lot of people aren't ready for what's happening.
That's very true. One of the things that I see throughout my work and my containers and just with my spiritual community and with myself is that we have to hold compassion and grace for ourselves. We really have to understand that not only did we ask to come here to have this experience on planet Earth, in this reality, but our soul asked to be expressed and expanded. But our physical body, like the person that we are, we have to process the emotions. We get to have all of these experiences, and they're tough, and it's normal. And when our world shakes up and the breakdowns come, fear is a part of that. And I feel it's a necessary experience that we have to have. And suffering is a part of that. And that's where the growth happens, and that's where realizations happen, and that's when surrender happens. But to know that it's okay, everybody. It's a part of this experience, and you become stronger for it. Your heart swells and grows, and your capacity to experience love, to receive love, to give love, to understand yourself, and where you are in your life, to align to what is higher and better and what's meant for you in this lifetime. But it's okay to have the physical, the welling up of tears and the howling and releasing. Like, that's all a part of it too. And fear is a part of it. And look at your fear and know, you are working in tandem with not just the universal energy, not just source energy, but you have your higher self, the aspects of yourself in all time and space. As a part of you, you are vast. You are omnipotent, beautiful beings of light connected to all that is. We can conquer anything, right? But to take that higher perspective sometimes and say it's okay to lay on the couch in a ball, crying, howling, and then you get up an hour later and you have to go into your conference room or take your kid to their soccer game or whatever it is. You navigate it with the best way possible that works for you, knowing you're held and knowing that you are loved truly. And when it comes down to it, you're going to look back on these changes, just like I said I did today, and you see the greater picture. I always say, like, to people, you're threading the strand of popcorn for the Christmas tree. You're sowing one kernel at a time, one popped kernel at a time, each one taking care and doing it. And you look back and you've got this filled line filled with all of these experiences of your life, and you see the growth, you see the expansion, you see the journey, and you appreciate it, and you understand, and you pat yourself on the back, and you give yourself that love, And for everybody, we asked for these experiences, and it's not always easy. But when I always say, like I used to say in my professional life, we have to do hard easy. We do hard first, so it's easy after. And that's what we're doing on this journey. We're growing, we're expanding, we're learning, we're evolving, connecting, we're becoming. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you. I noticed you're throwing some of the channeling in, and we'll get to that in a bit. I want to ask you to hear that was just a message for everybody to hear that's relevant. But also what I've noticed being working for years in the holistic healing transformational field, that sometimes when our personal life is blowing up or feels like the worldly life is falling apart, I think what you said, we have to go with the emotional body that's coming up. We have to release and how we are feeling about it. We have to be authentic to feeling and look at how is this triggering? Why is this triggering? The psychology, all of that. And it's interesting because usually as a healer or a channeler or teacher of types, after you actually go through your paces with what is happening, it seems like the gifts come through a little stronger and clearer.
Yeah.
That's the flip side of it for people, that
Mhm.
they'll get clarity. The other thing that I notice happens is that when you, let's say, work with people and you see that, oh wow, so many people are going through this same thing, it kind of makes your journey put in perspective, and it's like, oh okay, I don't feel as, I mean, it's not that misery's company, but it's like, okay, this is something bigger than me. This is, if everybody's going through a situation that's shifting and changing in front of their very eyes, then there is something. And as we mentioned, we know it's the astrology and some of the other earth shifts that are happening, but in a way it's good to know that this is, we have our personal transformation, but it's also happening in tandem with many other people, which I think could give a level of comfort.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And a lot of people, we don't want to face some of the truths, our inner knowing, some of the things that maybe weren't in alignment that we maybe put to the side or didn't want to view them or look at them honestly. And when these moments happen and these shakeups happen and we see them for what they are, we understand that this is happening, for a purpose, and that it was necessary, then it was for our benefit. And it shows you so many different ways, Jill. Like, it shows you were really understanding. Your inner guidance was really talking to you, and your gifts were speaking to your higher self, was speaking to you, and you weren't listening, maybe. Or, so it gives you those windows, those little snippets of, oh yeah, no, I knew that was coming, but I really didn't put my focus or attention there, and I was focusing or doing over here. And you're right. As we have these shifts, we learn more with our spiritual intelligence, and we go through these experiences, and we learn more with our spiritual body. Our technology turns on, and we start tapping into our gifts more strongly, more vividly, because our vibration raises, and our consciousness shifts, and we expand. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to witness that. I love watching that. But you said something in the beginning that I always speak as my truth. Like, I always feel like, you're watching everyone expand, you're watching all this stuff happen. And I believe we have to do that as well, right along. But I also believe that I have to do it, like, stay ahead of this wave that's coming. I have to experience it, understand it, and then be able to serve and mentor and teach and help people, because I have that greater understanding, because I've just been on the becoming train a little bit longer than the person I'm helping.
Absolutely.
and yeah, and then they'll be helping someone else down the line, and that's how it works.
Exactly. I always say we are several steps ahead of the people we're helping, because that keeps us able to relate to what they're going through, but
Hmm.
also we've garnered wisdom from what we have experienced in that same kind of vein. So I love the way that you're expressing this and really breaking it down for people. On this same kind of trajectory, the other thing is that in a way, when you're going through it, you can't do anything but really be in the energy,
Mm. Yeah.
and let it unfold. Because sometimes we are like, oh, let's say with astrology, we know a certain trance is going to happen, and most people tend to think like, oh, this is going to be fun, this is going to be really good. But then when it plays out, it's like, wow, I didn't know I was supposed to release that relationship, or I didn't know I was going to release that source of income. And so it can
Yeah.
be really intense on the material plane. But I love what you said, that it's really happening for our higher purpose, our higher self. There is a purpose, there is method to the madness, so to speak. And if we just ride the wave, we'll get to the other side.
Yeah. put on your life vest and anchor and wax your board. You're going to ride that wave.
That's right. So, thank you for sharing this. When we come back, I want you to talk about your trance channeling and also more about your work with the Great Council of Light and the whole process that happens. And actually, it's interesting too, because when we, as people who do this kind of work, we can sometimes get messages through this by like not personalizing, by almost like imagining we're doing it for a client. I'm sure you've done that before. And then you can get the channeling even for yourself. A lot of people don't realize that, even though we're the hardest ones to read for ourselves. But when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about trance channeling. Hi there, this is Jill Jardine, host of Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, and I have some news for you. Some of you know that I have a book that's published called Sacred Sound Formulas to Awaken the Modern Mind, Sanskrit Mantras to Raise Your Vibration. Well, now I have the companion oracle cards for Sacred Sound Formulas to Raise Your Vibration. You're going to have a lot of fun with these. You pull a card, you get the mantra that will help you at whatever moment you pick the card, and so much more. So make sure you go online and order yours now, JillJardine.com. So welcome back, Pamela. We have a lot to discuss in the second half. We want to talk about what it means to do the trance channeling and speak a little bit to visions, clairvoyance, premonitions, ETs, the changing of vibrations, dimensions. So anything you can do, that's a whole potpourri of topics to discuss, but whatever you're guided to share, we're very open to hear.
Yeah, I'm happy to. We were talking about how when we're on the spiritual awakening journey, we discover ourselves. And when I was on my spiritual awakening journey in the very beginning, when I started going down that road of I always describe it as we work sort of within a box of understanding. We're born into a faith, we're born into kind of ideals that our family gives us, and so on. And as we travel the human journey and we start to go through the decades and become more powerful in our humanness, and understanding life in this world a little bit more, we start to maybe see things in a different way. And that's what happened with me. I started seeing the world in a different way. I started questioning the word love, what it meant and how it worked inside of my faith. And I started poking holes into the reality that I had. And it started opening up all of these new concepts. And that was the beginning of me and my expansion. I wanted to know where Christ went, where he disappeared to. And I wanted to understand what energy was and frequency. And then the chakras came and then Reiki came. And frequency and water. And everyone who's been probably listening to this has had some sort of an experience like that. But through that satiating the brain, give me more, let me read, watch, and experience everything, I started the spiritual healing part of it. I want to experience Reiki. I want to experience sound bowls. I want to do meditation. And that's how I really started tapping into my spiritual gifts. I started allowing myself to have the space to hear the higher wisdom, and my clairsenses started opening up. I'm an artist, a musician, and a singer, so my creative sensibilities were always very strong and online, and I was always tapping into inspiration in spirit. So I had that line open, but I didn't even know what existed in a sense on the other side of all of what I knew. So I started meditating. I started seeing colors in front of my eyes. I started having dreams, and I started hearing my dad, my grandparents, kind of come in my dream state and start to give me messages. And then I just gobbled everything up. I wanted to know more. I wanted to understand past lives, and just went down this rabbit hole of discovery and expanding my spiritual intelligence and my spiritual technology. So my clairs open, and then I learned about Reiki. And then I started having knowings, and I started seeing things that would happen before they would happen, and seeing my husband open the door and hand me, a glass of wine when that's what I wanted after Friday pickup. It was the very beginning stages. And then I pulled up in the driveway and he did it. And it was so crazy. And, I started being in the supermarket and people were looking at fruit, and I would hear, she's a teacher. And I started to try to express that to let it out like you would if you were learning a new language and stumbling over the words. And I gave and put my energy and focus on that. Well, the knowings got so strong. Synchronicities, law of attraction, was off the charts. I was manifesting like crazy, and I was attracting like crazy, and I was just allowing things that came to me the opportunity to be considered rather than just shutting things down. Like looking at it and saying, "This is an opportunity. I need to experience this. I need to understand what this is. This came to me." And it's a muscle, and I just continued to let it go. And I had a really strong sense that I was supposed to go to this place in Costa Rica to do plant medicine. And I never aspired to do plant medicine. No one in my world was doing it. I wound up going to the place with a high conscious group of people. Normally it's like a huge gathering of like 100 plus people, but they shut it down, and there were 40 leaders and teachers there. And I was invited to go, and I had to say yes. I had to find the money to buy the ticket, and I had to get do all the things. But through that experience, I had a profound moment where I released, through a week-long ayahuasca journey, a lot of karmic energy from my soul body. And I heightened my frequency to the point where at the end of the journey, I had a white light shoot through my third eye. My whole body filled up with vibration. And I heard, "Your psychic abilities have been enhanced. Everything from this moment forward will be different." And that's what happened. I came home and COVID happened. And I had this like bank of time to sit and discover what that was. And this was 11 years ago when, this was 2020 when this happened. And it was, I want to sit and in my couch, looking out at the green woods in front of me and saying, "Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to know more about what that was. I want to co-create more of what that was." And that's when I started opening up myself in ways that I'd never been open to before. And I started having experiences with different beings and different energies. And I used to joke that I was a galactic hotel, and like I was like a rest stop on the highway or something. Like I would have so many different experiences, and I didn't know how to harness it. I didn't know how to navigate it. I didn't have any help. I didn't have community, and I basically did it all myself. But I continued doing this karmic clearing and working with this effervescent group of feminine divine beings that would come in the morning. And every time they came in, I knew I was going to do deep, deep soul past life work. And I cleared all of these deaths where I was tortured in different ways. And every time I felt the emotion of it, released all of the energy of it, saw it, actually experienced the death, I released energy, and my frequency kept rising. So I got to a point where I reached a certain frequency that the guides that I work with now, the Great Council of Light, were able to transmit their energy to me. They lowered, I heightened, and we had this transfer of knowledge, of energy, of frequency. And I started doing trance channeling. So trance channeling is where I'm in a meditative state and I'm able to move my consciousness sort of over to the side and allow this direct wisdom to sort of come down and intuit me. And I could hear it telepathically. But then after we did that for a while, they started utilizing my voice box, and I had to work with my intelligence and my voice box, my language, and I had to harness this energy. And it's like, it was kind of hard to watch because my neck was flailing back and forth and my body was moving. But we worked together for over a year to get into this place where I could speak pretty easily with them. I didn't just channel a council. I've channeled Yeshua and this divine group of feminine beings. I have galactic beings that I work with, Thoth, Ra, my Palladium guide, Avriel. The council started talking to me about what my work was, and that, I started getting downloads in the middle of the night and waking up and writing them down, or visions about things. I started hearing about future events, and I started writing them down. I started recording, and I started listening to the guidance. So there were things they told me to do to prepare for different world events that were coming up, and I did. And, people say, "Weren't you scared, Jill?" And I had the evidence of my life changing every single time I listened to this divine wisdom. My life expanded. My life got better. I wound up exiting my marriage, and, it opened up all of this to be available to me. But the council told me in the middle of the night, one night, I woke up and I heard spirit calling. And I got up and I wrote down the name. And in the morning, I bought the domain. And then over the course of a year, I kept hearing, "You're to build a community. There's going to be a glass ceiling that breaks, and people are going to stop in their tracks. They're not going to know who and what they have believed in their entire life. they need a safe place to land. At the time, I had just merged an 18-year-old business into starting something new with a client of mine. So I was in build mode for my marketing and branding firm. And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't have the time right now to build that community for you. Sorry, not now. And it was like a year of no, it's time to build this community, time to build the community, like they're tapping on my shoulder. And finally, about a year later, I had a vision of an iPhone screen, this little icon flying down with wings on it. And I realized that it was the community and I needed to build it. So I built it. I launched it in 2024, January, and it's supporting people all over the world. I never knew that I would be a healer. It's not something I aspired to be, but it's something I was always told I would do. They told me I would do instantaneous healing. I would be doing this healing that was so profound, and I would be like, me. I always do this, and this is normal, everybody. When you have a big mission, when you hear it, you're so young and so new with this whole new reality and world that you're like, me. I'm going to work with people all over the world. Like, it sounded so vast, and I couldn't even say like millions of people. But now I started the healing thing about a year ago. I am repairing soul bodies. I have technology that's been downloaded into me, and it continually gets downloaded into me. And I rebuild soul bodies. I activate people. I activate their dormant DNA and the light codes inside of them. I rebuild their divine blueprints, and I'm healing. And it's physical, it's energetic, it brings in every modality you could ever imagine. There's no label for what I do, but it's all self-taught. It's all from the council. And I have now, and I'm able to say this, understood that I am an incarnate aspect of the council. And I know that version of me's name. And she actually walked in. And so, I have no idea what's coming in the next 11 years. It's kind of crazy.
Pamela, that's a great story. Oh my gosh, I'm like riveted as you're going at one thing to the next. But what I hear you saying is that like what you went through yourself, your awakening and the way you awakened, and the council came through, and the messaging, and then it was like they would tell you things that would then play out. I think so now it just sounds like you're doing this for other people. It's like you're the embodiment of this, everything you went through. And it's kind of wild that it got triggered with that ayahuasca journey. But I've heard that it really does help you to get to where you need to go spiritually. But it sounds like, it was a wild journey. And now you're using all of your gifts and all of the awakened spiritual light that you went through yourself, like again, walking the walk, and you're helping other people do this. This is a great story. Thank you so much for sharing that evolution.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I think,
so welcome.
I think what I'm getting as you shared it, that you had to be accelerated to step up and do this. So at this time on the planet, when people need someone like you to help them make this transformational transition in their lives. It's almost like you had an 11-year download of things that might take people their whole life to get to. So that's right. That's phenomenal. I'm so glad that we had you on Cosmic Scene. And before we go off air, I'm wondering if you have a message for our listeners that you want to share before we conclude. I feel like you do. So here we go. Yes.
I do. Yeah. I'm going to do a twofold thing. I just want to let you know that I have a very deep relationship with Yeshua, Jesus, since I was a little girl. He came in the end of June, and he told me, I want you to channel a message. And I said, what? I don't do that. Like, okay. So I sat down. I didn't script my opening and my video for my YouTube channel or anything. I just sat my butt down and hit record. And I started just saying why I'm doing this. And then Yeshua came in the most beautiful way. And basically, this is my message to you, everyone listening. Yeshua called a call for unity, a return to love. Now, unity is being called now. He wants you to return to the space in the center of love, which is what you are. Anybody that you're holding resentment for, release it. Forgive them. Anything in your life that is holding you back from being the true version of who you are, release it. Think of that, and this sounds so simple, but think about every action, everything that you're doing in your life, and think about it through the lens of love. That's what Yeshua wants now. We have to unify. We have to get united. We have to become one. We have to stop fighting. The Great Council of Light's message is this also. Look at what you're doing in your day. What are you consuming? What food are you eating? What social media are you consuming? What conversations are you having? What are you spending your time doing? Stop the nonsense. You don't need to position yourself. You don't need to fight. You don't need to have that comment, that post, that narrative. Get straight within yourself. Work on your frequency. Get yourself anchored in so that, if things change in this world, you just saw many people in our world's life change in a second, mine included. You're able to navigate it more easily. You are grounded in your knowing and your strength and who you are. And you look at the world with a bird's eye view. Now return to love. And so that's really an important message right now. And obviously the council wants everyone to know they are beautiful, omnipotent, beautiful beings of light connected to all that is. Your purpose here is to understand who you are, to sit in your power, to relinquish all ties to control, and to allow yourself to flourish, grow, and bloom like the blooming bud of flower, each petal opening exactly when it's supposed to, in infinite and beautiful wisdom and divine timing. Sit in that knowing, allow yourself to retreat from the ego and to witness the becoming that you are.
Beautiful, Pamela. Thank you so much. I love that.
You're welcome.
See everything through a lens of love. Beautiful. Nothing else to say. Let's go out on that. Thank you, Pamela Downes. Oh,
you're welcome.
How can people get in touch with you? I shared your website, but you can just share it again.
Yeah, thank you so much. The beautiful community I created is spirit-calling.com. And you can go there and see everything that I have to offer. I have containers that I've created that are magical. There's a mastermind for you to be with other people and me once a month. And then I have my soul path coaching and my coaching containers. But follow me on any of my social platforms. They're all the same, Spirit Calling Pamela. And you'll stay connected to what's going on with the council's message that way.
Thank you, Pamela.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed this episode featuring my guest, Pamela Downes. Listen to this episode over and over again. Make sure you share it with friends. There's so much deep information. And give us a 5-star review. This is Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, sending multi-dimensional healing through the quantum field.